Apologize if I don't look so good today, but my throat's a little sore. But thank you all for being here today as we start our program on resetting, refocusing, and restarting. Again, we have about I think 50 people registered today, so thank you all for being here. And on behalf of the PCMA Southeast chapter, we welcome you to our October virtual education series, where PCMA Southeast brings you relevant content directly from our planner and supplier sources to help you reset, refocus, and restart as you plan events now and into the future. And by the way, you can reset, refocus, and restart as often as you need to. And today we'll gain important insight for planning successful, safe live events. We have a panel of 3 extremely knowledgeable speakers who are working hard to ensure in-person events can resume safely. Remember, please, to mute yourself and use the chat feature. We have the chat feature being monitored. And if you have a question for a specific speaker, please reference that speaker's name so the people who are monitoring chat will know exactly who your question is for. And then afterwards, we're going to have some fun. After the breakouts, we'll come back together for a Halloween costume contest. So stay online. Start looking around for your favorite costume, because we'll conduct a poll at the end of the program to determine the winners. And there are prizes. So some chapter announcements, upcoming events. Well, we have an event scheduled for November 18th, and we're going to have a poll right now. We're just testing everyone, or polling everyone here to determine your interest in attending an in-person event in November with safety protocols in place. Do you feel comfortable returning to in-person events? Just press yes or no and submit. We will take this information and use this information as we plan for our November 18th meeting. So thank you very much for participating in that. Just hit yes or no and then hit submit. Also, convening leaders, an update on that. It is January 11 through 15, and it is a virtual platform this year. Registration is open now. Your PCMA chapter will have an event during convening leaders as in years past, and we will make an announcement about that in the very near future. But convening leaders will be virtual. It was scheduled for Houston. I think everybody realizes now it is not taking place in Houston. It is taking place, of course, globally, and there will be events taking, some live events taking place, but it's sporadic. So I definitely suggest that you look at the website to see the agenda. And it's January 11 through 15. I'd like to introduce our sponsor for today's educational series, and it's Visit Raleigh. Visit Raleigh is a new sponsor to PCMA Southeast, and we're happy to have Nicole Kessler, who is the National Sales Manager and Solution Finder, and she's strategy focused and lover of all things Raleigh.
Oh, thanks, Chris. That's a great intro. I'm sorry you're not feeling well. It looks like you might need to get some rest this weekend, but I hope things get better soon. I'm Nicole Kessler, and I am new to PCMA Southeast, well, all PCMA. I'm really excited to jump in and get involved with you all. My North Carolina friend, Molly Johnson, down in Wilmington, has had nothing but great things to say about your chapter. So I'm thrilled to get involved. My email is nkessler@visitraleigh.com. So if you need help on any of your committees, shoot me a note. I am a firm believer in getting involved to get the most out of your membership, no matter what organization you're a part of. So don't hesitate to shoot me an email if you need some help on one of your committees for PCMA Southeast.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you. So a little bit about what's going on in Raleigh. I'm a firm believer that right now, more than ever, we really need to band together and lean on each other for help and support. I'm excited that the Raleigh Convention Center and Performing Arts Complex here in Raleigh is working hard to be ready for meetings and conventions. They just announced a comprehensive reopening plan that outlines their new protocols and procedures. And they also just completed their Global Biorisk Advisory Council GBAC Star accreditation. That is a mouthful. I'm sure that you're probably familiar with that by now, but this accreditation expands their facility cleaning methods and it increases their meticulous catering and food operations. So we're really, really proud of the team there at the Convention Center. This is actually the first multi-venue complex in the entire state of North Carolina to receive this accreditation. So we're thrilled for our team there. Moving on, we have some other certifications that have come out here in Raleigh or here in North Carolina. Count on Me NC is a statewide initiative that Visit NC put together early on in the process. That allows businesses, hotels, restaurants, any and every business in North Carolina can take the training and become certified. The whole team here at Visit Raleigh took the training. I'm certified, as you can see there. So this empowers visitors, guests, and businesses to keep everyone safe from COVID-19. It is very detailed based on if you're a restaurant or a convention venue or just a retail operation based on those procedures. So we're excited to have this certification in North Carolina here as well. As we shift to more regional meetings, we think it's important to note that Raleigh is right here in between, halfway in between Florida and New York. So more than half of the US population is actually within just a day's drive or an hour flight of North Carolina and Raleigh specifically. So for those of you that are kind of slowly putting your, dipping your toe in the water or in the sand of getting back to in-person meetings, just think about Raleigh. And when you want to do that, you can go to the next slide. Michelle, thank you. So these are pre-COVID numbers. We look forward to the numbers rising back up for our flights soon. So more to come on that. Like I mentioned too, on the last slide there, we are within roughly 8 hours up or down the East Coast for a drive from all the way from Florida to New York. So getting here via plane or driving is pretty easy to do. It goes without saying that we really wish you were here. We wish we were in person in a convention hall somewhere or an exhibitor venue somewhere. But until then, take a look at our brand new video and I will see you in a few minutes. Thank you so much.
It's like running through an open door. It's like finding what you're looking for. We got a beautiful story. Every moment on and on. We got a beautiful story. And we've only just begun. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come.
Thank you, Nicole. Is it stopped or is it at the end?
I
Nicole.
think it might have frozen a little bit, but yes, go ahead. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah, I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
It looks like it has stopped. But thank you very much, Nicole. And we'll be hearing from Nicole a little bit more because Nicole, as our sponsor today, will act as our moderator for our speakers. And I believe, Michelle, the next slide has something about the agenda. Well, anyway.
I think you're muted, Chris.
How does that happen? You don't even touch it and it happens. All right, so we will have three speakers today. We'll have three speakers: Delta Airlines, Caesars Entertainment, and Meetings Made Easy. We do encourage you to use the chat feature as we go through this. And again, it will be monitored. So, it will be live and we will respond to you after each speaker has finished. We'll be able to respond to those questions. We'll toss those over to Nicole and she can ask them, or the moderator or the monitors will be asking those. So anyway, so thank you. Without further ado, we're just going to move forward with our event, and I'll turn it back over to Nicole. And again, after this is over, we will have breakouts, and we will also have the costume contest. So thank you very much for staying with us. So Nicole, Visit Raleigh, take it away.
All right, let's do it. Looks like Michelle's getting her slides back up, so we will be headed in the right direction shortly. I'm excited. Oh, that's okay. It looks like you're getting there. It looks like you're getting there. Okay, so thank you again to PCMA and Chris and everyone on the board for giving me the opportunity to moderate your session today. It's really, really great to be here with you all. I'm excited to chat with the three dynamic speakers that we have to talk about bringing back live face-to-face meetings in a COVID world. First up, we have an awesome presentation from our friends at Delta. I'm going to turn it over to Patrick Pickens, Manager of Meetings, Incentives, and Conferences and Expositions at Delta Airline. Patrick, great to see you this morning. What do you have in store for us from Delta?
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. And also thank you so much for the wonderful overview of Raleigh, and just a shameless plug for Delta. Raleigh is one of our key focus cities. So just yet another reason to go to Raleigh. And at Delta, we're doing everything that we can to make it even easier to get to Raleigh. Also, I wanted to introduce also on this line, maybe the creepiest costume on here, but Stacy Nerf is also joining me from Delta Airlines. And Stacy is actually going to be behind the chat feature. And we really want this to be as interactive as possible as we go through this presentation. So please feel free to use the chat feature, and we'll be addressing a lot of your questions as we move forward.
And forgive me, I can't see or breathe, so.
We can go to the next slide and the next one. Perfect. So obviously with everything going on in the world, 2020 is a very crazy year, and our commitment at Delta Airlines continues to be the health and safety of our employees as well as our customers. And not only have we completely taken a look at the entire travel ribbon that Delta influences, we have put in over 100 different parameters throughout the entire travel ribbon to create a safe and sanitized experience through the moment you arrive at the airport to the moment you arrive at baggage claim in your destination. To start off, Delta recognizes that we do not have all the answers, and as coronavirus continued to spread across the globe, we actually reached out with a lot of different strategic partners to really better our practices and take a look at how we are addressing the cleanliness and sanitation, and ultimately providing the sanitation and cleanliness that our passengers and employees need. And one of them was the Mayo Clinic. We reached out and partnered with the Mayo Clinic. Actually, to date, over 61,000 Delta employees have been tested for COVID. And part of the partnership that we have with the Mayo Clinic is they're coming in and taking a big picture look at the testing procedures for Delta employees. So they are coming up with the strategic plan that as we move forward, as a customer, as a meeting planner, as people that are involved in meetings, when you get on a Delta flight, you can be confident and assured that the employees that are working the flight crew, they've been tested, and there is a strategic plan to ensure that people continue to be tested. Also, we've partnered with Lysol. Lysol is coming in almost as like a consultant to Delta Airlines, and they're taking a look again at this entire travel ribbon, and they're using their decades of research and cleanliness and sanitation products, and they are looking at the process. And one of the things specifically they have is when we look at the surveys that we survey travelers with, the lavatory online, so the toilet was a huge concern. And so Lysol is coming in, and they are actually taking a look and using their products and expertise to keep us climbing, so to speak, in the sanitation process. Also, rest assured, anytime you get on a Delta flight or are at the airport, masks are 100% required. Now, there is a small caveat to that. We do understand that there is a small percentage of the population that has an underlying condition that does not allow them to be able to wear a mask. But Delta wants our passengers to be 100% confident in the safety. So we've partnered with a hospital in Pittsburgh. So if you are one of those individuals that can't wear a mask, we have you step aside and go into a private conversation with a doctor or nurse practitioner. If they give you the green light that you cannot wear a mask, then we say that's totally fine, and you can proceed throughout the journey without a mask. If they say you must wear a mask, we will hold you to the mask. To date, we have had over 400 people put on a do not fly list because they decided to not wear a mask, and they did not want to. So Delta is taking this extremely serious. The health and safety of our customers and employee are always our number one concern. So moving forward, that is in place. Last on the slide before we move on, we've also capped our load factors on our aircraft. You may have heard on the news, but we've blocked the middle seat, and we have blocked that through January 6th of 2021. And I would not be surprised if we extend that yet again. And again, it comes back, especially in the meeting industry, as you're working with customers, that middle seat is a confidence booster. It's when you get online, you get on an aircraft, no one's going to be sitting with you, next to you. It allows for more social distancing. And there's been a number of studies, including a recent one from Harvard that came out, and it mentioned that going to the grocery store actually has more risk than getting on an aircraft. And truly, that's a testament to the 70,000 people at Delta and the other airlines. One of the questions we get asked is about other airlines and competing for safety and health. And what I like to say to that is we are competitive on a lot of things, and we compete with other airlines on a lot. But one thing that we're not competing on right now is the health and safety of our customers. And much like this entire industry, we all have to lean together and come together to evolve this to get people back on the airplane, get people back traveling and back to meetings. We can go to the next slide. Again, the customer is at the core of everything that we do at Delta Airlines. We have done test after test, and we are constantly looking at ways to improve our process. And part of that is we understand, especially in meetings, flexibility is really important right now. And we are going out of our way to make sure that we're easy to do business with. We've extended flight credits. There's no change fees on domestic flights. And we've extended our loyalty program until 2022. Again, we have Delta Care Standard, which is taking us to the next level with cleanliness. And I also want to point out, this isn't something temporary for Delta. Delta realizes that cleanliness and sanitation are something that is going to be permanent. We've actually hired a senior executive that will be in charge of the Delta Care Standard, and it's a permanent position. So as we move forward, we're going to continue to step up our game and make sure that the health and safety of our customers remain always our #1 priority. We can go to the next slide. So these next slides I'm going to go to really quick, but this is going to walk through the traveler experience from the moment you get to the airport to the moment you get to baggage claim. On this slide, I just wanted to quickly point out, as soon as you arrive at the airport, if you have not been on an airplane since, March, there are very clear visual cues that have changed. You will immediately see the floor markers on the floor that encourage social distancing. Here in Atlanta and across all of our airports, I don't think you can go 20 feet without the opportunity to hand sanitize your hands. I know in Atlanta, there has been over 1,200 hand sanitizing stations that have been put up in our terminals. Again, you'll also constantly seeing people wipe down high touch surfaces. And then again, something that's become quite common is the plexiglass shields you'll notice at our gate and check-in areas. We can go to the next slide. We've also partnered with the TSA throughout the travel ribbon. They are actually utilizing our electrostatic spray. Electrostatic spray works very similar as you were a kid and you rubbed a balloon on your head. It's very similar. And you stuck the balloon to the wall. It works very similar in the fact that these particles will attach and sanitize the surfaces that they touch. Also in Atlanta and our key strategic hubs, and we are rolling it out to all of our airports, we've actually replaced those kind of nasty bins in the check-in TSA area, and we've replaced them with antimicrobial bins. So not only are we wiping them down several times throughout the day, but we also have a film on all the bins that are also working round the clock to also kill the microbials that are on the bin. So yet again, another example of how we are continuing to evolve as more information comes available. And again, how we're putting you, your customers, and our employees as a #1 priority. Next slide. Again, at the gate area, you'll notice the plexiglass shield, hand sanitizer. We're also electrostatic spraying all of our gate areas multiple times a day. Two things here. We are now boarding the aircraft from the back of the plane to the front. It's about 10 passengers at a time. And that's to allow for social distancing. Also, something that Delta has done, we take on-time departure extremely serious. And if you've ever been on a presentation with Delta, we take that so serious, and we know that you want to depart on time and arrive in your destination on time. But as we continue to look at how coronavirus has evolved and everything, one thing that we've done is we've empowered our cabin crew to halt an aircraft if they do their inspection and it does not meet our Delta care standard expectation. They have been given the green light to halt the aircraft, have the cleaning crew come back, redo the sanitation. And that's really, I mentioned that just to show you how seriously we are taking this. Although the inconvenience of maybe departing 5-10 minutes late is horrible, but we'd rather make sure that you get on a plane that we know is clean and safe for you. So that's very important. We can go to the next slide. Next, on board the aircraft, when we started this year, I know Stacy and I never thought we would become experts in the air filtration system of an aircraft. But 2020 has let us learn that really quick. Our aircrafts have HEPA filters in them. HEPA filters are found in a lot of hospitals and operating rooms. They filter out 99.99% of air particulates, including that of a coronavirus. So the air on board is coming from the outside of the aircraft, and the new air is cycled in anywhere from every 2 to 4 minutes. So you can rest assured that you are breathing extremely fresh hospital grade air. Also, again, we're electrostatic spraying the entire aircraft, and there is a checklist before anyone can board the aircraft to make sure that you're getting on the cleanest aircraft possible. And again, we're blocking that middle seat so that you can be rest assured that no one's sitting next to you and there's social distancing. We can go to the next slide. On board, you will notice that the food and beverage is slightly different. We have individualized packages here that are individually wrapped. Only one person puts together each of these to ensure that the fewest amount of hands have touched the food that you have. Again, masks are required on board. When you eat, they ask that you can take off your mask and eat, and our flight attendants have done a phenomenal job of learning to politely remind you as soon as you are done eating, please put back on your mask. We can go to the next slide. Last thing I just wanted to mention is we know that this has been a crazy year, but we just wanted to remind you that when the time is ready, we do have meeting products that are available for you to use. These offer discounts off of your flights as well as incentives. We have three different programs. I'm not going to go into them in detail right now, but just wanted to say if you have any questions, we're more than happy to walk you through which one of these is the best fit for you. Also, before we can go to the next slide. Maybe if we have time, we can take a question, one or two questions. But I just want to say it has been so humbling to work for a company that has continued to put people before profits. And I can say 100% that behind the scenes, when decisions are being made, it is about our employees and our customers. And their safety and health are always the #1 concern. And it has just been phenomenal to see a company make decisions that are not the best for our profit, but they are for the best of our people and our customers. And it has just been so humbling. And I'm blessed to work for a company that's doing something right. But I will, if we have time, I don't know how much time we have, but I can take a question or two. I know Stacy's been going on the chat.
No questions right now, Patrick.
Well, awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for letting us join. I also have my costume here. I took a Jim Halpert, glued onto my shirt. I am the mute button, and I thought it was very fitting for 2020.
Hey, Patrick, I did see a question actually come through from Henry. If that's okay, Stacy, I don't know if you saw that one, but he asked as we're moving back to face-to-face meetings, is Delta putting together a website that planners can link to their meeting website that talks about safety precautions?
Sorry, I put the link on the.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so the great news is that we have really good resource and an actual live walkthrough video. You'll have a host on the video that shows travelers exactly what they can expect to experience when they go back to the airport if they haven't yet already. The nice thing is it shows them kind of start to finish what to expect, and so there's no real surprises. The website is hosted on our delta.com homepage, and then the great news is that it's updated constantly. So if we make any changes or adjustments in our procedure or process, then all of that information is updated as well. So you can feel free to reference it. On another note, Delta has been part of the team, the Apex committee that's working on the EIC standards for COVID recovery, which launches today, the travel and transport portion of it. And so there's lots of great references, not just for Delta, but for all air transportation, for ground transportation. There's lots of really good resource in that. So check out the EIC webpage.
And it looks like Mike has a question for Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick, that information was fantastic, brother. Thank you so much for that. So I'm a big nerd. I read all about statistics and airplanes because my clients ask me these questions all the time. And I read that basically if you leave your mask on the entire time, because to actually contract corona, you have to be around it for 15 minutes and air goes in and out of the airplane around 2 minutes. So statistically, 1 in 27 million people get corona by being on airplane. Is those statistics, have you heard of that? Is that true?
There's a lot of statistics out there, and with any, first off, my background's chemistry and biology, so I could totally nerd out.
Perfect.
Every single statistic and study has its own, negatives and positives. But the one thing that I can say is there was a Harvard study that came out and it showed that 42 people of the 1.2 billion people that have traveled since March have been linked to contracting coronavirus on an airplane. Those 42 people all contracted it in March of 2020. And a Delta perspective and all of the other airlines, that was before we put in a lot of the mask mandates as well as a lot of the cleanliness and sanitation measures. I can tell you, I've traveled several times since coronavirus, and I can hands down say I was unbelievably comfortable the entire time I was on the aircraft. Every single person wore a mask, not only at the airport, but on the flight. And I've also been to 2 in-person meetings since all of this has happened, and meetings can happen. They are happening. And all I know is I'm really excited to get back and get, all of us on this call can lean together and take the industry to the next level. So great question. And the data out there is all saying the same thing. It's basically better to be on an aircraft than at the grocery store.
Thank you.
That was really, really great information, Patrick and Stacy. I have not seen a more thorough overview of anything COVID related at this point until now. So thank you so much for your time and sharing that with PCMA today. Shifting gears, I now would like to introduce Michelle Pulsey from Caesars Entertainment. Michelle is Director of Citywide Catering Sales in Las Vegas for Caesars Entertainment. Michelle, thank you for joining us this morning and getting up bright and early to be with us. How is it going in Vegas?
It's going great, thank you.
Good.
So we're having a it depends on what day it is and of what we're doing, but we've successfully managed the jump from 50 people to 250 people, going into a maximum of 1,000. So we are trying to navigate those waters. Speaking for Southern Nevada, Northern Nevada, and our Atlantic City markets, we're kind of governed by our version of the health district and our version of the gaming control board to set up pretty robust policies and procedures to do safe meetings. So every day is a new day as we try to navigate through that and do the best things for customers and try to educate them on what's going on in Las Vegas or in our bigger markets.
That's great. I appreciate the overview. I think it's interesting to, really pay attention to every state and every city's different mandates from a capacity standpoint. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I have some great questions just relating to the meetings that you would have in general. I think the burning questions that everyone wants to know when they get back to live and in-person meetings. So let's jump right in. Have buffets disappeared forever? That's what everybody wants to know, Michelle.
Nobody wants buffets to disappear forever. That's a challenging thing. So when we were at the 50% occupancy, it was much 50%, excuse me, it was much easier to produce an event like that. We chose to go with stations with the servers actually serving the guests. They'd point and kind of click and tell them what they'd want. As we've gone up to the bigger groups, we're almost having to go old school, like at a wedding, to say, okay, table number 1, you can go up to the buffet now, to try to manage the crowd control. So, what we're finding is when the groups get bigger and bigger, the time that the buffet meal is going to take might be not meet the goals and objectives of the meeting. It might take too much time to do a buffet meal. So right now we're still good, but when we go back into those really large numbers, I think it's going to be really hard based on what kind of social distancing rules and regulations are implemented at the time to do that seamless for those super large groups. We're still plated meals. We still feel, hate to use the word easier, but they're still like preferred. And that way we can really figure out service timeframes where, if you have a quick lunch go through, we don't necessarily want a preset salad or dessert, but we can serve you salad and preset the dessert once you're sitting down, so with a cover on it, so everything where it's coming from and that it hasn't been exposed. So doing those kind of workarounds, making sure the silver is rolled, making sure glasses of water poured at the table and they're not just sitting on a tray jack. So mentally kind of giving the guests the cues, okay, this is all coming out a la menu. It's not been sitting somewhere. It's not been exposed to the element. So, we try to work with the end customers and really what they want their goals and objectives to be. Everybody's COVID path is different. Like what I feel comfortable with and Nicole, what you might feel comfortable with are two different things. So, I think when people come back to live meetings, and they're taking the risk. It's important for them to either get their industry back on track, to if it's education, if it's product launches, what you're getting into it. But some people may feel really lackadaisical about it, and some people are like, stay in my zone. I want my space. So when we plan food and beverage, and when we plan seating, and when we look at the overall comings and goings of groups and how to keep them safe, we have to keep in mind everybody's journey, like you're really strict or you're really not, and how best to make that happen so everybody feels safe.
Michelle, what about breaks and coffee? Is self-serve coffee really going to be a thing of the past?
Yes and no. I think I hate to use the phase approach, but when we first started out, it was a lot of plexi. It was a lot of attendants serving coffee and putting the condiments in. During the last month, we've retrofitted, and a lot of our hotel partners that have as well, is a lot of the touchless coffee points for urns. So you literally have to, put your cup underneath it's a pretty distant thing. And, no more of the big vats of sweeteners and creamers and all that kind of good stuff. It's all being presented to you in one kind of vessel to go. So I just, had coffees Wednesday at the Caesars Forum, and it was literally a glass with a napkin, a Caesars napkin, and a stick, and all the sweeteners and creamers I could want. So I felt very safe with that. I think what the big, I think, rub will be in the future is, as depending on the social responsibility of our end clients, it's kind of hard to live in a COVID environment and go green at the same time. So what's going to give? Are you going to blitz through a lot of paper and plastic, and people are going to feel safer to know nobody's really touched that, versus the coffee, creamers, what we were doing in bulk? So I think that'll be something to think of in the future, but it's like the lesser of the evils right now. And I hate saran wrap, and I'll show you a few pics at the end of the presentation, but everything's saran wrapped up. And boy, before, if you'd walk in and you see saran wrap on a buffet, you'd lose your mind, like, what the heck? And now you're like, okay, is it locked in? Is everything covered? Do you know it's safe? So, we always want our food and beverage quality to be top notch in presentations. And so we're finding that win of what we think is acceptable or not, so it's a journey we're all going through with our customers. And one thing that I loved that Patrick said was, it's not a time about competition or who can do things better, because we're all competitive people in the meetings business. But like, gosh, if Wynn's doing something better than we are, and we talk all the time, like, what are you doing, or how are you interpreting the governor's directive, just to make sure we're all on the same page. There's no like right or wrong. It's like, oh my gosh, that's an awesome idea we didn't think of. And it's just such an information sharing, because we're given the charge to get our city back together, to get our folks back to work, and to get the meetings industry back online. So however you go about that, don't care about what brand or what flag you're flying. We just have to work cohesively to do it, and all be safe for our employees and our customers as well.
You couldn't have said it better, Michelle, and Patrick too. I think you're going to see that in every city and every destination across the country, and every brand. We have to band together and lean on each other. That's so funny what you said about the saran wrap, because I thought about that too. Like, when you would see it on a buffet, it's like, oh shoot, like, let's get that off. But now it's the complete opposite. So it really is the lesser of two evils. What's more important to think about. We did have a question that come in on the chat box. As we move back to face-to-face meetings, what percentage of increase, if any, do you recommend planners add to their meeting budget to cover costs associated with health and safety precautions?
So this is going to differ. I mean, at Caesars Entertainment, from the get-go, when we knew that we were manning coffee stations, when we knew that we would have to man buffets, we chose to get people meeting again and not worrying about charging people for labor fees. because we decided for do safety and security, we were going to have people serve. What will go up is if, as a customer, you want temperature screenings. Now, across Las Vegas, it can vary. Some properties have them, some properties don't. Caesars doesn't happen to have them. But we just had a conference that they wanted temperature screenings, and they had to show, their COVID pass before they came in. Something like that it requires extra security officers. We pass along the cost to the customer to have that staff, but we're not upcharging it like hotels normally do for everything. So we're just doing a pass-through cost. But we're not adding extra, labor. Like Delta said, you're taking the hit. It's not as profitable. You just want to get people back to work, including your own staff. And if you have to take it, if we're going to be in a year of like labor is going to be out the roof, and it, and going in, but that you're doing the right thing for the business and for the company and the industry, that's kind of the approach we've taken. Subsequently, if it was pre-COVID and you wanted, 4 bartenders for 100 people, you're going to be charged extra bartender fees. Same thing's going to happen,
Right.
this time around. We're just not going to go extra because we have to have extra staff to facilitate a safe event.
Sure, absolutely. So you mentioned previously that you had some pictures from a recent event. So let's take a look at those and show
You got
everyone
it.
kind of how that worked out.
So these are not only a culmination of like some Caesars events, but some friends throughout the industry. So this is my girlfriend at Cosmo. This is one of the very first events that went live for the self-service coffee station. And I loved it. I love the decals on the floor. I love the queuing stations. And I like the approach, the in and out. And I thought it was a really good picture, the phase 1 picture to coffee breaks. And so this was just this week at the Caesars Forum. So taking the coffee break items or the break items, and we did it 2 different ways. We either had a server that was pick and choose, offering them to the guest, or we actually rolled them through the meeting rooms. We did, face-to-face appointments. So it was very much like nobody had to get up to get food, and they could be served directly at their seats. And we can move on, and I have some pics of that. So, when would you see that? If you can go back one, like a beverage service on the go. So, a server actually went around and said, what would you like? And served them at their table. So they didn't have to go, get up and grab something. And we're also for smaller meetings, we want to get away from the big breaks in the foyers. And again, it's a more labor cost, but we're putting them in rooms. And instead of doing the exposed ice and cups, we're using a lot of the mini, not refrigerators, but we're a Pepsi house, Pepsi coolers to put everything in. So I think most everybody feels comfortable to go to a 7-Eleven or a Wawa and grab a water out of the cooler. So it's that kind of concept that we think people have more of a safety feel to do it that way versus it being on a table and having to grab ice. And we can go back to these were break items: avocado toast, peanut butter, and Nutella, little charcuterie trays that they actually rolled around from the table, and people could choose their break items. So they very, contained. Another picture of that. So just to give people the idea, again, break items where the servers were serving. You notice the nuts still have the saran on the outside. The salad's a little bit more exposed, but somebody would actually pass that to the guest. PCs, so something as simple as hummus and veggies. Again, we were going in this crazy grazing table. Let more is everything, grapes falling off, like this, like all these picture moments, and then you're going to, I want everything in my own little vessel. So here's an example of some hummuses and some dips. And again, the saran wrap is covering. We knew that the vegetables were placed on when we placed it, so it's a very safe environment. But before, you'd never want to see the saran wrap. Mango salad to go, totally encased and safe. So the box lunch, it's a big question. Like, do we have to have box lunches? And I really, don't think of box lunches as a ham and cheese, a piece of dead fruit, and a bag of chips. Box lunches have been really awesome. There's so many great vessels that you can use. And if you really think about if a customer does not have a speaker, what's going on. They're not going into the lunchroom at the same time. They're on their phone, they're working, they'll come to the lunchroom in the last few minutes. How great to have a vessel that you can really do a beautiful 2, 3, 4-course meal that's really high end. If you're in Atlantic City, you can go on the boardwalk and eat it. You can go up to your room. It's the best of both worlds. You can eat in the foyer, you can distance yourself. So I really think these high-end box lunches are really going to bring it the future, that to get people out of that area. And there's just a lot of great flexibility. And quite frankly, I think they're much healthier. And this is, I think the other big rub for us in Las Vegas is, how do you do a cocktail reception? Because right now we're considering it, you have to sit, and we're plating everything. And we're bringing it to you with the tray, with the cover, and we're going to say, here you go. So that was an example of an event on Wednesday where we did, you know, a number of different appetizers where customers were actually sitting at the table and we served them to them. And then another picture of the kind of to-go kind of like breaks that people feel comfortable grabbing. This is one of my friends from back east where they're actually passing Butler style. We're not at that point now, but they had created these great lucite boxes where customers could pick. The server would pick what they'd want, put it on top of the box, and the customer could grab. So we're not there yet, but other places are there. And so that's something when we talk about how people are doing it, you know, differently, that's what we're looking for. One of my friends in a wedding that just happened a weekend in Houston. So I really like the look of the dessert stations. Again, totally different, depends on what you're doing. And then I think I have a couple more questions, just the buffets with the lucite. Here was a general session just this week. So individual chairs, cocktail tables spaced out for a couple hundred people. And it was quite, you miss chatting with people that you're sitting at, but it was quite well laid out and people really felt safe. And another example of meetings with, you know, tablecloths that don't necessarily, tables that don't have cloths that can be, you know, sanitized in between, having the wipes available, having that distance so people felt comfortable. And just a last picture of the reception with, we did the 8-foot rectangles with 4 chairs each to kind of space people out. And Mike, I think I saw a question come up from you, but I'm not good at talking and reading at the same time. So
Sorry.
I have to admit, I have skills. That's not one of them. Well, you had a question about cocktail receptions, which is just like a pain point for a lot of people.
Correct. Yeah, I'm honestly learning so much from you right now. This is fantastic.
So cocktail, like planners want to have, and I know I'm probably going over, Nicole, but planners want to have cocktail receptions because they want people to network and they don't want to be static and sitting at the table. So we're actually having to say, for Las Vegas and Atlantic City that I can talk about the most, like, we want you to have that, but we can't have you standing up and we have to have you sitting right now in this phase. So how can we do it? And, you know, we've had like week 1, when we opened back up, somebody just had a crudité. We literally had to sit them down and give them individual crudités. And it was so kind of clumsy, but what can you do? And we're not even doing bars in the room. We're doing, because we don't want people to queue up. That's, Caesars is a little bit more conservative on their approach to, we're only sitting a max of 4 people per table. Down the street, they might be sitting 6. We're not allowing dancing right now for any of our social events. Down the street, some people are. So you have the regulations, but then you have the, you know, your company and what you feel comfortable with, and really taking health and safety to the next level. So receptions are tough. That's going to be the one that you're going to have to really plan to say, does this work well, and like, how are we going to do it? And so that's our workaround that we've created for it.
That's excellent, Michelle. And I think the takeaway there is you've got to partner with your venue, no matter who they are. Really sit down, take the time to think things through, like receptions, for example, how you can be creative. And I think that's too where you bring in your back of the house folks, your chef and others, to say, what can we do to make this special, with also keeping it safe. So that was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you for getting up early and being here with us.
It's been a pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you for all that you're doing for the industry and getting us back on track. Like, we're all in it together, that's for sure.
That's right. All right, last but not least, another early riser coming in from Vegas this morning. We have Mike Ferreira from Meetings Made Easy. Mike is going to give us an overview of current trends he's seeing amongst his clients and across the industry. Good morning, Mike. How's it going?
Hey guys, thank you for having me on. Actually am learning a lot, as you can tell. I'm asking a lot of questions, so I can't thank you enough for inviting me on, because I think I want to join all your future meetings because I'm learning a lot right now. So I think this is amazing. And yes, it's really early here in Las Vegas, but hey, we're going to get through it. I want to jump into what my company is seeing with our 300 plus clients around the nation, around the globe, because let's just be honest, we hear a lot of things. We hear a lot of rumors. We have friends that say what is happening in certain areas of the nation, but I'm in the trenches daily with my own clients. Same with my team. So I can literally, in my opinion, update you on what's happening day by day. And I'm a very positive person. And what I can say is that events are coming back. Face-to-face events are happening now. And if you look at the statistics in certain cities with how many events have actually taken place, like I'll give you an example, Oklahoma City from May to August, I think had over 414,000 attendees with over 81 events that took place. These are some of the statistics which really don't hit the media for whatever reason, but events are taking place. Me personally, I had a client just put on a 75-person event in Cancun. I also have a client in 1 week putting on a 400-person event in Orlando. It just really comes down to where is the event taking place. I feel personally that with like our clients that we represent, a lot of our event planners have went through a trial of putting on virtual events. And they've learned a lot. They understand how good virtual events can be with reaching audiences, and statistically, by having a virtual event or a hybrid event, you're going to have higher in-person attendance. So I don't see a hybrid really going away in the near future. But what we can see daily, and I think this is probably the biggest positive that everyone will take from this, is that everyone that we talk to from our clients are kind of sick of virtual events, or they realize that, you know, you can reach a broader audience, but you can't get that connectivity, that human compassion. People want to be around humans. They want to, I'll give you an example. I was at Connect last week in Orlando. It was a major event. I think they had over 1,000 people there. You could feel it in the room anywhere you went, that people wanted to be around other human beings, and that connectivity, that networking that takes place in person. You just can't beat that. You can't find that on virtual events. So that was a huge positive. And if anyone has questions about Connect and things they did, I can answer that as well. But what we're really seeing in 2021 is, and it was kind of around Labor Day weekend, it kind of an uptick kicked in where we started to see more and more RFPs, and my convention bureau friends, my third party friends, and even my clients, you can see that with kids going back to school, they start to think, oh my gosh, I got to start planning for 2021. What are we going to do? And the majority of our clients that we talk to, their executives are like, we have to figure out a way to go back to in-person events. But here's the kicker. No one knows how many people are going to show up to their events. And that's the number one question that me and my team deal with daily. They want to put on events, but they don't necessarily know how many people are going to show up. So attrition comes into play. They don't want to put on an event if they're going to owe $50,000 to $100,000 in attrition damages. So for all my hotel friends out there, and I'm ex-hotel sales, if their leadership and somehow would allow them to be a little bit more flexible with attrition, I think you have a better shot at booking group events in 2021. Q1 is a little bit light. And I think, Michelle, you and I here in Vegas, we're a little bit different from the rest of the United States, just because our group gathering ban is at 250. But like last week when I was in Orlando, they don't have any group gathering bans. They have masks in place. The group has the option to do social distancing if they want. And again, you know, based on the event planner and the culture of the company, that's up to them if they want to have social distancing in place. If I was going to put on an event, it would be social distancing and mask everywhere. But they are on fire because they can't stop booking RFPs because they don't have a group gathering ban. So I think it just depends on where your group gathering ban is, what state are you looking at for future events. And the biggest question that we get now of RFPs is not necessarily, okay, where should we book this event? It's more of like, where can we book this event when a client sends us an RFP? Never in my whole career have I ever seen anything like this, where the event planner tells me to send this RFP to a certain destination based on group gathering bans. So right now we see a real uptick in Florida and Texas, just because Florida doesn't have really a group gathering ban throughout the whole entire state. Texas, I think, is at 75% capacity. I'll give you an example. I think Indianapolis is almost completely open. Nashville's at 500. And so on and so on. So as a third party, I have to educate myself daily on where group gathering bans are because people ask this 24/7. Oh, there's questions. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, that's great. This is really, really great information. Henry has been really killing the question game. So thank you, Henry. Are most of these meetings that have happened or are in the RFP phase, are they corporate or association? That's a great question.
So my company, out of the 300 clients that we currently represent, 95% I would say is corporate. So corporate, it wants to meet, they want to get back together from my perspective. So that's a positive. It really just all depends on the company culture and how they feel about it. Perception's a big, big challenge, just because individuals, you know, might look negatively at the company for having an event in, you know, Q1 of 2021. It just really comes down to the individuals that are the stakeholders of the event. So the one thing I can really tell you from my perspective is Midwest companies and multi-level marketing companies are really putting on events. San Francisco tech-based companies, they seem to not be putting on or trying to attempt events at all. And then some companies in the Northeast, but it just all depends on the culture and the stakeholders and what they want to do. Because I think what's important is to know the statistics, like with Patrick with the air travel. Yeah, Connect meetings, I thought a lot of people would be talking about, you know, flying and how was the experience, but everyone was like, flights are no longer a problem. That wasn't even a topic anymore. So that conversation is completely out the window. And I'm thrilled that it is out the window because, to be honest with you, I'm not an expert in airline travel. And now I know Patrick, so I'm going to pretty much bring him on every call I have in the future. So
he's the expert.
Yeah. So I'm glad to not be having that conversation anymore because everyone's like, oh, do we travel? Are we safe? But statistically now it's kind of like, well, that's over with. Now we just got to focus on, like with Michelle at Caesars and everybody else and the hotel suppliers, is let's make sure people are safe on site. And with Connect, that really opened my eyes to understand how to put on an event safely. Because when we got there, we skipped the front desk because you can check in on your mobile phone. You go up to your guest room and housekeeping no longer comes up to your guest room. You are literally just locked into that room. You break the seal on your door. And they don't come and refresh your room. They don't give you towels unless you ask for them. So no one ever enters your room anymore. So it's kind of unique. And then daily when we were at Connect, we would fill out this form that was sent to us via text message. And it was basically like a couple of questions. So you were allowed to leave your room. And it's not like you were locked in your room and you couldn't leave your room. It's just you fill out the questions and it was like, do I have a fever? Do I have fatigue? The standard questions I think we've all filled out before. And if you clear all the questions, it gives you a green thumbs up and it says, okay, now you can come down to the conference. So when we would go into the meeting space, as soon as you went down these escalators, you were greeted by security and they said, go to the room to the right. And that's where you went in these rope and stanchion type of area. And they temperature tested you. And once you passed your temperature check, you got a sticker on your badge. and that sticker was a certain color. And so throughout the whole day, everyone understood that you've been temperature checked. The biggest hurdle, I think, moving forward with event planners, and again, I'm just third party, I'm not an event planner, but is I think having COVID tests on site is going to be crucial. But again, it's not accurate enough where you can have the test done right there, get your results in 10 minutes, because again, you could contract COVID that day and you would never know, and vice versa. So that was the only thing maybe I would say with Connect, that it would have been nice if you had a COVID test on site, but they are very expensive as well. So I think that's going to be a hurdle. And the reason why I asked Michelle about the receptions was because they opted for having a normal reception, but we had inclement weather. So everyone went from outside going inside, and that was a big concern because due to COVID, everyone understands being inside is worse than going outside. They had certain ice bucket stations, and it sounds horrible how I describe it. I'm not a catering person like Michelle, but it decreased the lines at bars where individuals could go and grab like White Claws out of these really fancy ice buckets or margaritas. So lines really didn't exist. And there was like about 1,000 people there. So in 2021, we definitely are seeing RFPs coming back. It's nowhere near what it used to be prior to COVID, but we are positive. We are seeing it. And I think a lot of our friends can say the same thing. What we're seeing also for hotels and destinations, they're becoming super flexible with offers and concessions. So the number one thing that I could suggest to any event planners out there is that have the open, proactive conversation when talking to your hotel supplier friends, because it's no longer about being savvy with negotiations or understanding what you can ask for or how to obtain certain things. It's really all about letting the hotel salesperson know what it will take for them to earn your business. So the first thing out of all of my mouth for all of my personal clients that I represent is they have concerns about attrition. They don't know how many people are going to pick up. So we need to work on attrition first. A lot of hotels are fantastic out there. Certain brands are better than other brands, but they understand it and they'll work with you. Most hotels actually have certain clauses where they'll check in on the event planner every month. You can reduce the block at certain periods. That helps. But to contract a group right now, that's what you need, because again, the financial liability is there and groups won't book unless they know that the hotel will truly be a partner with them. So I highly encourage proactive conversations, also pandemic clauses, cancellation adjustments, because again, who knows if a COVID case spike will happen anytime in 2021 where maybe fear comes into place and no one wants to travel anywhere, then you're going to have to cancel or book this group into the future. You just don't know. So you have to be proactive and know how to negotiate and put these into your contracts. But your hotel supplier friends should work with you and put this into your contract. So I think you'll be fine there. And really what we're seeing now is, I think, a positive when it comes to group gathering bans. We're seeing them starting to lift. And for like Michelle and I, we're at 250 people in each meeting room, but we can have a group of 1,000 come into Las Vegas. But out of the 1,000 people, 4 meeting rooms of 250 in each, they can't co-intermingle. So that's a challenge, but still, think about it, 250 people, 1 meeting room. Most hotels in the United States have 250 guest rooms. So it's not that bad. Just in Vegas, we just have a lot of hotel and a lot of guest rooms, a lot of meeting space. So we need to be smart and safe. And because our governor just came out and said in January 1st, if everything goes well, we'll go up to 50% capacity in meeting rooms. And if that happens, that's fantastic, because if you can do a meeting room for 4 or 5, 6,000 people, you can have 3,000 people in that room if it's a capacity for 6,000. That's fantastic for Vegas. And Michelle and I this is all we have is meetings and hotel rooms. So this is our number one industry. So we need to get Vegas back as soon as possible. And that's really my number one goal of what I do, because I'm a positive person. I'm trying to educate as many people as I can. So I hope you enjoyed kind of the statistics and what I'm seeing. Again, this is my own personal perspective of my own clients from within Meetings Made Easy. So thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.
No, that's a great overall consensus, and I think a lot of people want to know these things that are working with clients, corporate association, and otherwise. So I appreciate the overview. Ellen had a question, but I think it may be a question worth really bringing up in the breakout so everyone can kind of speak to it. I imagine some may have responses and some may not know. Are rapid COVID tests reliable enough to host a corporate Christmas party? And if so, where can I get rapid COVID tests? So maybe we jump to the breakouts and ask that. I do not have an answer for that. I know that the reliability is all over the place depending on who you ask. You've probably seen that too, Mike.
Yeah, I could go into that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so I am, let's see, Ralph said there was a company at Connect that provided that. So Ralph, maybe you could share some more information in your breakout about that and then bring it back to everyone. Oh, he said he'll tell us the name in a minute. All right, I'm gonna throw it back over to Chris to tell us a little bit about the breakouts, and then we will see you all there in a few minutes.
Sure. Thank you very much, Nicole. Well, I hope everyone has really enjoyed this as much as I have. We have taught you, or you've learned how you can fly safely with Delta. You've learned about the F&B safety protocol. So, that obstacle's out of the way. And you've learned about some of the meeting insights from Mike. So, we're really providing you the tools to move your meetings forward. And this has been a great panel today, providing a lot of tremendous insight. So thank you all. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakouts. You've been pre-assigned breakouts, and then there will be a moderator in each one of those breakouts, actually one of the speakers. You can leave a breakout. You have an option of leaving the breakout. So if you want to go check out another one, you want to be a breakout hopper, you can do that. And then what we'll do is we will come back. Lisa, our chapter administrator, you'll get a message saying the breakouts are going to end, and we're going to come back and we're going to have our Halloween costume contest. So do please stay online so you can vote. We have some great prizes. And I guess with that, we'll go into our breakouts now. And in the breakouts, you can talk. You can actually, you don't have to use chat. You can actually talk in there. So it'll be about 15 minutes. And so I'm looking forward to my breakout, and I'll see you there.
Yay! Okay, I'm gonna stay here with you. I actually have to run and do something really quick.